22-year-old Ted Boyer is suing his ex-roommate, 21-year-old Chris Figlewitz, for vandalizing his property, the return of a security deposit, and an assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 321 on the calendar in the matter of Boyer versus Figlewitz. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Boyer, how long were you and the defendant roommates?
For approximately 6 months.
Were you going to school?
Yes.
What school?
Golden West College.
What were you studying?
Graphic design.
And you?
I go to Musicians Institute.
Were you friends before you moved in together?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Quick study. This is your complaint, Mr. Boyer, that this idiot decided to play a little prank on you and sprayed your room with urine, destroying your mattress and your computer. Now, Mr. Figlewitz says it was just a little urine, and it could not possibly have destroyed your mattress because he just got it on the edge of the comforter.
Yep. Yes, Judge Judith.
And that it certainly did not go on the computer. In addition, on the same day, he assaulted you, and you were injured. You have photographs to show me.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to that, after you, because immediately after this you moved out, you never got your security deposit back. Now, the defendant says he never assaulted you, and you didn't get your security deposit back because you didn't come and clean up the apartment, right?
Yes, that's true, and also he didn't pay all his bills either.
I don't have a counterclaim. Okay. When did you move in?
August 2004.
And when was this incident with the urine?
Late February.
Tell me what happened.
It's kind of a funny story. I came home from work one night, and they were out partying, and there was probably like 4 or 5 people over. And it was a common occurrence at the house. There was always a lot of people over. And at that time, I was working and going to school, so it wasn't my main point of interest to be partying all the time. And I had just become fed up with it after a while. So I was staying at my girlfriend's house, Asia, for the last 3 months because of not only the pranks that were going on, plus the partying. So I decided I'm going to get out of here. I don't want to deal with this tonight. So I take a couple of DVDs over to Asia's house, and we're going to go watch them. I come back because I forgot the ones that we meant to watch, and find the defendant, Mr. Figlewitz, in my room coming out with a spray bottle and laughing.
I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, we're like, what are you doing in my room? That's inappropriate in the first place. And he just laughs and runs outside. And we're like, where are you going? What are you running outside? So we go outside, and he's obviously drunk at this point. So I begin to ask him what he was doing. Ultimately, I get him to admit that he was spraying urine in my room out of a spray bottle. And
Just a second.
Yes.
How did it get in the spray bottle?
You can use your imagination.
I don't want to use my imagination.
I
want
went
you
in the
to tell
bathroom and filled it up.
how much of the spray bottle.
Maybe.
Show me how big the spray bottle was.
It was like this big. I maybe filled up that much.
And then did you put some water in it?
No.
So it was straight urine.
Yeah.
See, the reason I don't like to use my imagination is if you do something stupid, I like 10 million people to hear that you've done something stupid. That's my joy in life. When did this idea foment in your brain that I'm going to go into the bathroom and instead of urinating in the toilet, like most people do, I'm going to go to the bathroom and get a spray bottle, whatever was in the spray bottle, I'm going to dump out. And then I'm going to fill this up, and I want to know, when during the course of the evening did that idea foment in your brain?
It was pretty spontaneous.
It was spontaneous because you had had enough to drink to make it spontaneous?
No.
Were you annoyed at Mr. Boyer?
A little bit, but
Okay, so you were a little annoyed.
Yeah.
What were you annoyed about, sir? You're never going to know where I'm going, so don't try to figure it out, sir. You think I'm going to zig, and I guarantee you I'm going to go the other way. So just try telling me the truth. You'll be a much happier person and much less embarrassed.
I mean, there was pranks on both parts. Like, I found a can of tuna, raw tuna, underneath my mattress between my box spring.
When was that?
A few days before.
Had you done that?
No.
How did you know it was him?
Because I had my other roommate and he told me it was, so.
Maybe it was your other roommate trying to get off the hook.
Could be, but
Could be,
I doubt
right?
it.
Okay. Why else were you mad at him?
I felt unappreciated because I paid for everything. I furnished the whole place and spent like $5,000 on all new stuff, and he would always comment that my furniture was tacky or whatever, or my paintings were.
So first, he did a prank, you thought, on you, but really you were annoyed with him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't appreciate you enough. I appreciate you. Let me see pictures. I didn't hear about the assault yet.
After I basically caught him red-handed, we went outside and we were having an argument, and some of my friends were, or his friends, were intervening to make sure nothing physical started to happen. Obviously, I wasn't going to try to do anything. That's not my character. So he comes around and kicks me. We were standing on stairs, mind you, or he was standing 2 stairs above me, kicks me, and I stumbled down, knocked my hand on a beer bottle. It broke and shattered in my arm.
That's untrue.
And I also have a police report.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
So you got some scratches on your arms, no stitches, is that right?
No stitches.
Okay.
I wasn't able to go to work the next day. I wait tables, or I did wait tables at the time, so it's obviously inappropriate to have open wounds.
Miss Asia, step up, please. I want you to tell me what you observed outside.
Okay. Chris went out of the house after we approached him about the situation. We were upset about it because that's disgusting. I sleep there too. I was standing right there on top of the stairs. Ted was on the stairs as well. His friends started getting between the two of them. Then finally something was said, and Chris kicked Ted, and then Ted went down the stairs.
Where did he kick him?
He kicked him, probably hit him about your waist or hip.
Oh, in the stomach.
With his foot?
With his foot,
yeah.
Because that's where he could reach him. Ted flew forward and then hit his arm on the wall where the beer bottle was.
Go ahead.
That's not how it really happened. I ran out, I went in the bathroom, and then I walked outside, and then she was, saying, like, Ted's twice my size, he's gonna kick my, excuse me. Then he was angry, and he came at me, and in defending myself, I pushed him away with my foot, and he scraped his arm on the stucco wall.
That's not true, Your Honor.
It didn't have any glass in it or anything. I guess he knocked over a beer bottle, but there was no glass in his arm or anything like that.
I heard the whole thing, too, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like you to stand up and tell me your name.
I'm Katie Carlson, and I was in the room when he sprayed the urine.
What were you doing in the room?
Laughing.
Well, that's stupid.
I know, it was stupid.
How drunk were you?
I wasn't drunk at all. And Chris had probably had like 2 beers. He wasn't drunk either.
You mean he did this act of stupidity sober?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Don't fall over your tongue. You look stupid. You don't want to look stupid, do you?
No.
You see, because I made him look stupid. Her a little bit.
And later today,
Where did you get this guitar?
My father had given me the guitar. He passed away 5 months later.
She contacted you, and you told her it's in storage. You can have it back, no problem. So you were lying.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Boyer says former roommate Chris Figlewitz vandalized his bedroom.
Go ahead.
So I was in the room and
I'm just interested in what happened outside.
when Ted walked in, I had been in the room with Chris and I walked out.
Listen to me very carefully, my dear.
Okay.
Get out to the stairs.
So I heard Ted and Asia both just really violently harassing Chris. They were both saying that Ted's twice your size, he's gonna kick your and Chris was just totally like, you know, I'm sorry, I admit it, I'm sorry. And Ted came up the stairs at Chris. Chris put his foot out, defended him. Sorry.
Just a second, stop. Were you outside or did you hear this?
I did not see the fight.
So don't tell me what you saw if you didn't see anything.
I heard them yelling and harassing him, and I heard Chris admitting fault, apologizing, and he was making such below-the-belt comments.
Just listen to me.
Right.
Did you see
No.
anything?
No.
Then you may sit down.
Okay.
What? You know, sometimes some of these cases that we do, it makes me not want to buy government bonds. What happened to your computer?
Well, after the whole occurrence,
What happened to your computer?
it didn't work.
Had it worked before?
Yes.
Untrue. That's untrue.
You got a lot of things that are untrue.
We only had one computer hooked up to the internet because his didn't work, and he used my roommate's computer all the time because his computer never
Does
worked.
that sound right?
I didn't have
Don't play.
I didn't have
play.
internet on my computer.
Okay, but the computer
But the
itself...
computer itself didn't work.
Do you have a
That's
bill
not true.
to fix the computer?
Yeah, well, I threw that computer away simply because the urine stench was on it. It was disgusting. And I bought a new computer. I don't expect to get the full amount for my new computer. I just want to be compensated for, you know, what the old computer was worth.
Well, what was it worth?
I was waiting for you to judge on that.
I don't even know how to turn on a computer. I have no idea of what your old computer cost. I have no idea of what its value was. And you don't come into court asking the judge to figure out what that is. You have some sort of proof for me to look at.
Yes,
Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing Mr. Figlewitz for $5,000.
Yes.
Okay, how much was your deposit?
$733.
All right, so that you're going to get back from him because he had a good reason to move out because Mr. Figlewitz and his friends, including this young lady, were idiots, okay?
The check was never
Shut-
paid to me.
I don't care. It's your fault that he finally left. Then he's going to pay you $1,000 for the fall and the scraped arm, because even though you didn't have glass in your arm, it's something that you don't have to tolerate. And I absolutely believe, Miss Asia over here, that your friends were in between the two of you. You were both hot, and that while the friends were in between the two of you, you kicked him and caused him to fall. And you cannot, sir, do that. The mattress. Did you buy a new mattress?
Yes.
How much did you spend on it?
$500.
You have a bill?
No, I don't. I have different like prices in mattresses, and I didn't buy a new one. I
Flipped it over.
Well, no, I averaged all the prices out of new mattresses that I needed. I threw the old one away.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me very carefully. Don't fall over your tongue. You look stupid. You don't want to look stupid, do you?
No.
You see, because I made him look stupid. Her a little bit. The only one who's coming out of this thing whole is Asia. I'd hold on to her if I were you. But don't lie to me. I don't like it.
Okay.
You threw away the mattress, and first you say you bought a new one, then you say you didn't buy one, but you averaged out the costs. Who are you living with now?
Asia?
Asia, do you have an apartment?
Yes, I do.
Have a one-bedroom apartment?
2-bedroom.
2 bedrooms. Who else lives there?
My girlfriend.
So you split the rent?
Yes, we do.
How many ways?
3.
1, 2, 3. And he shares your room?
Yes.
And you sleep on the floor?
No.
You sleep on a?
Bed.
Which has a?
Mattress.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,733. You have a mattress, Mr. Boyer. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just escalated into this, and that was about it. That was enough.
He's a liar.
We've told this story one too many times, and it was easy to win this case.
I just got fed up with him.
I'll probably just live on my own from now on. Just keep clear of the roommate situation.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Marriott. Step forward.
19-year-old Kelsey Stewart is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Joshua Marriott, for the cost of a bass guitar. Kelsey says Joshua sold it without her permission.
Ms. Stewart, according to what I read in your complaint, you and the defendant were an item some time ago, and while you were together, you loaned him a precious guitar.
Yes.
That had been given to you. You'll explain to me why it's so sentimental. You gave it to Mr. Marriott to use, according to him, in his band. And then you broke up. According to him, this was a gift. He had no use for it after a period of time. And then it was sold. Not by him, but by his mother. Where did you get this guitar?
My father had given me the guitar for a Christmas present before
When?
he passed away in 2001.
So it was sentimental for you?
Yes, it was very.
And when did your father pass away?
He passed away 5 months later.
Kelsey Stewart claims ex-boyfriend Joshua Marriott sold her bass guitar without permission. Kelsey says the guitar was a gift from her late father.
Why did he give you a guitar?
He, for some reason, decided that I was going to play bass guitar, so he finally just bought one for me.
Did you learn?
No, he passed away before I could get lessons.
How come you gave it to him?
Lack of judgment. I shouldn't have.
Tell me when you gave it to him.
The following year.
When in 2002?
May.
Summer, fall, winter, or spring?
Spring.
And when did you break up with him?
We had broken up before then, actually.
Well, then, why transfer this sentimental guitar to someone with whom you no longer had a relationship?
We were still friends at the time, and we were still on good terms. Like I said, better lack of judgment.
Well, tell me about when you turned it over to him. I want to hear.
He was at his house. I drove with my current boyfriend to drop it off.
Why would you do that?
He asked if he could loan the guitar. We had actually discussed it before when we were dating, and so it came up as, remember when you said I could borrow the guitar? And he said that he needed it to go on tour with his band, and I said that I would loan it to him until I needed it back.
When did you think you were going to need it back?
I wasn't sure.
Did you ask to borrow the guitar for the group to go on tour?
Yes, I did. And the band didn't end up going on tour. And after that, I just put it in my garage and it just sat there. And I didn't hear from her for at least 2 years.
That's not true.
Well, when was the next time you contacted him about your guitar?
I was unable to get a hold of him for about a few months, and then before I left, I found him online again.
Well, just a second. You drove it over to his house, you said. Did he move?
Yes, he did.
No forwarding address.
He would not take my phone calls, and so the only way I was able to contact him was online. And I contacted him, and I said I was moving to San Diego, and I was going to need the guitar back to take with me. He said it was in storage and that it would be fine and it would be returned, no questions asked.
When was this?
September of 2003.
Did you have it in storage?
Yes, I did.
Could you stand up? You don't need anything to hold on to, right? When she contacted you and you said it was in storage, you were telling her the truth.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Well, was it in storage or wasn't it in storage?
It was in storage, and then my mother sold it.
So this wasn't a couple of years later. This was a year later, September of 2003, when she contacted you and you told her it was in storage, you can have it back, no problem. So you were lying.
I actually contacted her, which is the funny thing, because I found her on a site called MySpace. And if I would have known that she would have attacked me on the internet for this guitar.
Your Honor, that was 2 years later.
When she contacted you and said, I'm moving to San Diego.
She told me that she was in San Diego when she contacted me. I was also looking for her, too.
Why were you looking for her?
So I could give it back to her before my mom was going to sell it.
Did your mother have permission to sell it?
Yes, she did.
She had your permission to sell it?
Yes, because
How big is this bass guitar?
like this.
Where were you living and where was your mother living?
I was living in Campbell with my grandparents, and my mother was living in Gilroy.
Why couldn't you take the guitar with you?
Because I kept on moving around to myself, and I wasn't going to carry someone else's belongings with me.
Oh. Did you have any clue that this was a gift from her father?
No, I did not.
Is that right?
No, he would have known. It was a very sentimental thing, and I would have told him.
Yeah, I assume you would have told him.
If it was so sentimental, why would you let me borrow it?
Like I said, it was
Well,
lack
that's a
of
good
judgment.
question. You want to know why? Because sometimes people in affairs of the heart behave irrationally. I tell you this for sure, Mr. Marriott, I wouldn't have loaned you the guitar. What kind of a guitar was it?
It was an Ibanez bass guitar.
And how much will it cost you to replace it?
$300.
You have any papers to prove that?
Yes, I do.
Let me see. Is this a picture of the guitar?
Yeah, but it was red.
It was not red.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't quite interested in the color, but that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life. This one doesn't have any sentimental value, but at least you have it. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bus driver Judy Greenlee is suing fellow bus driver David Smith for backing into her car with his bus. David claims he didn't do it.
All rise. Now, this is case number 169 on the calendar in the matter of Greenlee versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Greenlee, there was a time last year when you and Mr. Smith were employed by the same bus company, a school bus company. And it is your claim that while you were out doing your route, Mr. Smith backed a school bus into your parked car and then took off, damaging your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car and other related expenses. Mr. Smith says he never touched your car, and he is counterclaiming because he says because you filed these charges against him, he was humiliated at work, he was arrested on the job, and he was ultimately acquitted of those charges. Did you have a trial?
No. The police officer dropped everything.
Okay. And told you to proceed civilly, I assume. So he's got a counterclaim. When did this incident happen with your car?
January 12th of 2004.
And at what time did you leave that day on your bus?
6:30 a.m.
When did you return to the yard?
Approximately 8:15 a.m.
When did you look at your car?
As soon as I got back to the garage.
And what did you discover?
I discovered a dent, and there was rub marks from where my paint had been rubbed off. A part of
Do you have photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the photographs.
And I also have a videotape of the bus actually hitting the vehicle. There is the videotape.
So your car is red?
No, my car is orange.
Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Orange.
Orange.
I assume before you looked at the video, you conducted your own investigation. According to what I read here, a little bit of an investigation on your own. You went around looking at all the buses.
Yes.
And didn't find any of them with any damage.
No.
So what did you do next?
We went on our afternoon routes. David's the only bus that did not come back to the garage that morning. So when we got to, we both drove at the same elementary school. He was off of his bus, and I went and I seen the orange paint and the rub mark on the back of the bus. My husband was actually up at the transportation director's office speaking with him, told him the damages I found.
Okay. Don't tell me what your husband said. That's hearsay. But you saw orange paint on Mr. Smith's bus.
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No.
All right, Mr. Smith. Now, tell me your version of what happened that morning.
I got in my bus around 6:40. I backed my bus up. I had another bus that was to the left of me that I couldn't clear, so I had to get off my bus because my two-way radio did not work on my bus. Got off my bus, went and asked the other driver if she could back up so I could go around. I did my route.
So it's your claim that at no time did you hit Miss Greenlee's car?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were subsequently arrested?
The police come to my work to arrest me for hit and run, but my boss asked them before they arrested me to go and watch the videotape at the transportation office. So my two bosses, the transportation director, the police officer, and myself, all went down. We watched the videotape. The police officer watched the tape twice. He come out, told me he was not going to arrest me.
Just a second, did you watch the tape with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you mean he came out and told you? What is that?
He watched it twice. The first time we watched it together.
Yes.
The second time he watched it with the transportation director. And he come out and said he was not going to arrest me, he was not going to write me a citation, that he would let the insurance companies deal with it.
Okay, can I see the videotape, please?
As you can see, David's entering the bus. Starts backing up. He's having trouble maneuvering the bus back. Stops, he pulls up. As you can see, my vehicle to the left. He keeps
That's your
backing.
car? Is that
yes.
your car?
Yes. He keeps backing.
But there was no
There
contact
is
made.
point of impact. Pulls emergency brake. Apparently gets off of the bus for 14 seconds to see what he has hit.
Well, there's certainly a shadow back there now that I see.
Yes. Gets back on the bus and proceeds to take off.
Okay, if I hit the vehicle, why do I sit there for 30 seconds before I pull off?
What are you asking me a question for, Mr. Smith? That wasn't a bus back there. That was a car.
Yes.
What you told me a moment ago, Mr. Smith, was that there was a bus behind you. There was a bus that prohibited you from making a turn. You got off and you spoke to the bus driver and asked her to move. I saw no other bus back there,
The bus
sir.
was to my left.
I saw a car that you came dangerously close to if you didn't hit it.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is I couldn't make my clearance. That's when I got off my bus to go ask the lady if she could back up so I could go and make my clearance to the left.
Not a big deal, Mr. Smith. You just should have accepted responsibility and said, it was a total accident. I didn't mean to hit your car. I will certainly pay for the damage. And be finished with it. Instead
I
of
didn't
making...
hit her.
You did! You hit her car.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Unfortunately, we have electronics to establish it.
If you look at the tape like the police officer did, you will see I did not hit her car.
You think his eyes are better than mine?
No, you just have to pay close attention to the tape.
Sir, you have something from the police officer that says that you didn't hit her car?
No, ma'am.
You have a statement from the police officer, even though it's hearsay, which says, listen, tell your insurance companies to take care of it. This isn't worth my arresting you for hit and run. Nobody was injured. You're two reasonable people, working people. Let your insurance companies take care of it. That's what the police officer said. You didn't say that you didn't hit her car. Okay, can I see your estimates on having your car fixed, please? Did you have your car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Good. You're not working for the same bus company anymore?
No, ma'am.
Right, good. What year car was this?
2003. I'd purchased it 6 months prior to it being hit.
Did you receive insurance coverage for it?
Yes. My insurance company paid for it because approximately 14 days after the accident, the bus company's insurance said they could not find who was at fault because they never requested the tape.
Well, what was your deductible?
$450. And then I also had to get a rental car, and that total was $138.57. And I have my
Why
credit
are you
card.
suing him for $5,000?
I'm suing for the deductible, the rental car, the actual damages to pay back the insurance company because my rates are going up because of the accident, and also $2,801.94 in punitive damages for the stress, the mental anguish that I went through over a year and a half of dealing with this incident.
Unfortunately, you don't get paid for that. So your deductible was $450?
Yes.
And you rented a car for $138?
Yes.
It's $588. Could have resolved the whole thing.
I don't owe her a dime.
You do too.
I do
You
not.
hit a car.
I did not
And
hit her
may-
car.
And it may, Mr. Smith, be giving you the benefit of the doubt because this didn't look to me as if this was this kind of crash. It looked as if the bus was going very slowly and maybe you just eased into it with the bumper.
But if you could see the damage, even if I eased into it, it's not going to cause that much damage.
You have an expert that's going to testify to that, sir?
I can get one.
What did you think you were coming here for, a tea party today? This is it. You've been hocking around with this lady for well over a year.
No,
Pay her the $588. That's what you owe her. You were wrong. Say, I was wrong, I'm sorry. I know that that's sometimes hard, but that's what men do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I should have resolved it then. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You just don't want to admit and be a man and say I did it and I'm sorry. That's all I wanted from it.
She's a deceitful person and I want nothing to do with her.
I've never spoke to him a day after the accident happened.
We used to be good friends and we had us falling out.
I'm finally glad that justice did come out finally.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lucy versus Todd. Step forward.
18-year-old Christine Lucy is suing the father of her daughter, 19-year-old Fred Todd, for damage to her car. Christine says a drunken Fred kicked her door.
Miss Lucy, this young man used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
And you have a child together with him?
Mm-hmm.
And you claim that he has a bad temper, and because of his bad temper, he kicked or slammed your car door on 2 separate occasions, causing some damage.
Yes.
Mr. Todd says that your car is old, that you both lost your temper and slammed the car door. Yours on your side, his on his side, and he's not responsible for any damage. How old is this baby that you have together?
She is a year old.
Did you ever live with Mr. Todd?
Yeah. When I found out that I was pregnant, we moved in together, and from then it's been kind of a rocky relationship. I've moved out and moved back in a few times.
When you move out, you move back home with your parents?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Where are you living now?
With my parents.
Stay there.
I am.
I mean, it's not for you. You're 18, you're still a baby yourself, but you made a baby, you have a responsibility to give that baby a certain amount of stability, and you don't need any more boyfriends for a while, and you just have to concentrate on your child.
And that's why I decided in June of this year that I wanted her to have a stable home where her family wasn't fighting all the time.
Right, because an 18-year-old, how old are you?
19.
Another genius. An 18-year-old and a 19-year-old or a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, when they make a baby, that's a very dumb thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So when was the first damage he allegedly did to the car?
In July of this year, he was too drunk to drive, and his mom needed a ride to work. And I went to go pick him up and take him over to get his mom and take her to work. And on the way there...
You mean, just a minute, his mother called and said he's too drunk to drive?
No, he called me and said that his mom needed a ride to work and he was too drunk.
What time of the day was this?
It was about 10 o'clock at night.
Does that ring a familiar chord, sir?
No, Your Honor. For one thing, I wasn't drunk. I hadn't been drinking.
Your Honor, that's...
Shh, just a second.
I
Mr.
didn't
Todd.
have a car at the time.
Mr. Todd,
actually.
Did you say to her, I've been drinking? Let's say you didn't use the word drunk. I've been drinking, my mom needs a ride to work.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
listen to me. I have in my brain a truth machine. I'm not here to hurt you, Mr. Todd. I'm only going to hurt you if you don't tell me the truth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What's my business is that she's taking my daughter around those people.
It's not your business unless there's something wrong with these people.
Well,
you're not her morals monitor.
You know,
just like she's not your morals monitor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Lucy says the father of her child, Fred Todd, kicked her door during a drunken argument.
What kind of work were you doing in July?
I'm a dock worker, as a matter of fact.
Were you making good money?
Well, at one job I was making $15.50 an hour, and at the other job I was making $13 an hour.
How many hours a week?
About in between 30 and 40 hours, and the other ones it was sometimes from 20 all the way up to 40 hours.
So you're working at least 50 hours a week?
Yeah.
How much were you giving her?
I'd say in between 50 and 60.
Shh. So, of the $1,250 that you were making, you were giving her between $50 and $60 a week for the baby.
Yeah.
What were you doing with the rest of your money?
I had to buy a car. I owe money for things. I have a lot of bills. I live on my own. Just, I mean, all
Were you
kinds
living
of
on your own in
things.
July?
Oh, yeah. I've been living on my own since I was 17. So.
Now, so tell me about this. Now we're going to get back to the car.
The first incident, when I went to go take his mother to work, on the way there, we got into a fight over his drinking and him not giving me any money for our daughter. And he got upset, and when we got there, he opened the door and he kicked it to keep it open. And when he did that, I guess it shifted my car door because the door was flush with the front panel.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Grand Am.
All right, when was the next incident involving the car?
The next incident was early the next week. He wanted to talk about some things, so I told him that he could come with me on my errands and talk to me on the way because I was very busy that day. And so we didn't talk a whole lot while I was doing my errands. It was on the way back. He tried to convince me to get back with him and try to start a relationship again. I told him that I didn't want to. I wanted to stay at my parents' house, try to build my own life, and he got very upset about that and lost his temper and started yelling at me. And then when we got to his mom's house so I could pick up our daughter, he did the exact same thing again. He opened the car door and kicked it. But
you mean kicked it open?
Yeah.
Kicked it open, didn't kick it closed, kicked it open.
He kicked it open. It was actually the hinges in the door frame were so far bent that you couldn't open or close my door.
Can I see the estimate?
Sure.
Good.
The pictures are here.
Good.
As well.
Okay, Mr. Todd, now I'm going to hear you.
Well, we went out to get it inspected, and she, like, as soon as we broke up, she immediately started dating again, immediately trying to replace me, immediately trying to get a, I don't know if she was trying to get another father for my daughter or what she was trying to do. So it made me angry because I'm my daughter's father, and, she's not going to replace me. I'm not going to let her. And,
well, what do you mean replace you? I don't understand you mean replace you.
I don't want to bring in a whole bunch of guys, into my daughter's life, in and out of my daughter's life, because that's not, I don't feel that's a good situation for her, to grow up in, with guys in and out, over life all the time.
What makes you think, sir, that the plaintiff is going to bring a whole bunch of guys in and out of your daughter's life?
Because within the first 4 months of us being broken up, she's already had 3 or 4 in and out of her life already.
Just to say, 3 or 4 what in and out of it? She
3 or
lived with
4 guys.
How, you mean that she's dated?
Yeah, but she's taken my daughter around and brought them around my daughter.
So, I mean, if you're telling me that she's lived in the 4 months that you've been separated, she moved in with one guy, and then she moved out, and then she moved in with another guy, and she moved out, and she moved in with another guy, and she moved out. I would say to her, you're doing the wrong thing, and I would say to you, if you don't like her conduct, and if you think her conduct is damaging to the child, and that would be damaging, go to court and seek custody of the child.
And we're in the process of that.
Just a second. But if what you're telling me is she's dated 4 people since the 2 of you split up, that's none of your business.
No, you're right. You're right. It is none of my business. But what's my business is that she's taking my daughter around those people, and I don't want my daughter
around. What do you mean around those people? I don't know what you mean. You mean when she goes out with them, she'll spend a Sunday afternoon with them in the park?
She'll bring them back to her mom and dad's house.
What? So that's not your business.
But they're around my daughter.
That's not your business.
May I ask why?
It's not your business unless there's something wrong with these people.
Well,
you're not her morals monitor.
You know,
just like she's not your morals monitor. Get to kicking the car.
So, you know, that was what the argument was about. So we was arguing about that, and we come pulling up.
About which you were wrong.
Okay, about which I was wrong.
Absolutely, because you're not going to like it 2 years from now when you have a new girlfriend who moves in with you, because I have a feeling you like to have somebody live with you. And she says, I don't want my daughter over there. It's sleeping over. He sleeps with this woman and they sleep in the same bed, and I don't want that. I'm going to tell you the same thing. That's none of your business. When a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old are dumb enough to make a baby, you got to make concessions for the next 20 years. Think about having another one. Got it? I would have 3 jobs if I were you, so that you kept busy. Why did you kick her door?
I didn't kick her door. Actually, we was pulling up to my mother's house. The second time isn't when I don't think that it could have got damaged. The second time, we both got out of the car when we was arguing and slammed the door.
Just a minute, but her door opens.
But what I'm saying is I think it was the first incident. If I can explain that to you, I think that's what damaged the door to make it do that the second time when I, like.
So you mean you just started it the first time, but the second time it was real, you pushed it over?
I didn't kick her door, is what I'm saying.
Just listen to me. You were the passenger.
Yeah.
Door doesn't close.
Okay.
She could slam her door.
Okay, but.
Her door closes and opens.
Mm-hmm. You
got it?
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,022. That's all. Thank you.
Civil engineer David Fletcher is suing his ex-girlfriend, admissions clerk Brenda Manus, for illegally cashing a check and for attorney fees. Brenda says David was stalking her.
That's case number 345 on the calendar in the matter of Fletcher versus Manus. Has been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Fletcher, you and the defendant used to date.
Yes, ma'am.
And there came a time when, according to your complaint, the defendant had accused you of being unfaithful.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said to her, it's not true. Here's a blank check. I'm signing it. You take this blank check and go hire yourself a private investigator and investigate me. Yep. So far, is that right?
Yes.
So she took the blank check, she filled it out, made it payable to herself for a couple of $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Ma'am?
Who did you make it payable to?
He made it payable to me.
Oh.
He put my name in it.
Fine. You just filled in the amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Then things didn't go well. She accused you of stalking her. Mm-hmm. You were arrested, had to hire a lawyer. Those charges were subsequently dismissed. So you want the $2,000 back from the check and the attorney's fees?
That's correct.
Ms. Main says she cashed that check and wrote in $2,000 because she had to be taught a lesson not to be such an idiot. I mean, she doesn't say that, but that's about what you said. And that she had a grounds to file a complaint for stalking because you were, in fact, stalking her and making her very uncomfortable. Was he stalking you because he wanted his money back?
He never asked for the money back, Your Honor.
Never?
No.
When, for the first time, did he ask for the money back?
I received a
letter.
Let's
start from the beginning. When did he give you the check?
It was end of April, first part of May.
Can I see a copy of the check, please?
Yes, ma'am. I put together this, and it's got an index for the whole thing, or do you just want that?
Listen to me. I'm not as young as I used to be. Okay. Just give me a copy of the check.
There's some other stuff stapled to it. But...
April 6th, but that's the date on the check, and it was cashed?
In the upper right-hand corner there, it's the 8th of April, is when it actually transpired through the bank.
2 days later, didn't waste any time.
No.
What'd you do with all the money?
I paid a bill of my daughter's, and that's about it.
Okay, then I have here some emails. You were hell-bent to give me these things anyway. This one is dated Thursday, April 8th, 9:14 a.m. from you. No, David, I'm not going to hire a PI with your money, but I'm going to hold on to your money for a couple of months so you can sweat a little. That should be long enough to teach you a lesson on giving someone a blank check. By the way, I cashed it for $2,000, and you did have money in the account. You're lucky I didn't cash it for $10,000 like someone suggested. You lied to me about how much money was in your account, so you must not trust me. I hate liars, and once I'm lied to, I have a hard time believing anything that a person says to me in the future. How much after that did you break up with him?
We were broke up.
2 days later after he gave you the check?
Prior to the check.
You're not a nice person.
Maybe not.
Wow, you're right. Well, I'm glad if somebody knows themselves. That's the first step to self-healing. I mean, you took advantage of him.
I don't feel that I did, Your Honor.
You don't feel as if you took advantage of him. He gave you this check for what reason? He gave you the check and said, I haven't been doing the wrong thing. I have been doing the right thing. Here, take this. You should have taken it, ripped it in 10 pieces and said, listen, David, it's over. I'm not interested in you. Instead, you took the check, you cashed the check, you went and bought yourself something, you paid a bill for your daughter, and then, after you told me, I'm going to hold on to the money for a couple of months. That's what you said to him. So far, you owe him $2,000.
Excuse me?
So far, you owe him $2,000 because you said you were going to give it back to him. That's what you said in the email. That's your email. That's what you said.
Like
you said, I'm going
to me?
I don't care what he wrote to you. You told him that I'm going to hold on to it long enough to teach you a lesson. Did you learn your lesson?
Yes, ma'am, unfortunately.
Now, can I see when you filed stalking charges against him? Did you continue to send her letters and emails and flowers?
Well, what I'd like to do is present my evidence on this, if I could.
Listen to
While
me.
we were dating, I did.
Listen to me.
When we were
Listen to me. Watch me. After she cashed this check, did you send her flowers?
The last flowers I sent her was the first or second week of April. After the check, we were broke up for like a week. We got back together, and I have emails that she has communicated with me.
When you say you got back together, did you take her out for dinner?
We went out to dinner, and I have my business partner here. They came over to Gold Beach, and she'd actually went out to dinner with us.
After April 8th?
After, yes.
Okay. Now, when did you tell him that you didn't want him calling you anymore?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
It was May 19th, and I have the last email correspondence that I actually had with her.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. This was the last correspondence. That's when she told me that she had a boyfriend and I was cramping her style, evidently.
I don't take
May
cramping
19th.
style.
And from that point on, I had no more contact with her, other than after I got served with a stalking order, which I got served. That was May 19th. When I had a hospital appointment, I had to have some surgery done at the hospital there. She works there, and bumped into me. And after I got done with my surgery and I got home, the next thing I know, I'm getting served with a stalking order. And that was, I hadn't saw her for almost a month.
How come you never told the police that you ripped him off for $2,000? I don't see that anywhere here.
Your Honor, I didn't rip him off for
Yes, you
$2,000.
did.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How come you didn't say to yourself, maybe if I give him back the $2,000 that I took from him, maybe he would leave me alone? What are you looking at me? Am I speaking a foreign language to you?
And later today,
Would you describe the dog when you went there?
She was bleeding really bad from her mouth, and when I tried to move her lips to see what was wrong, it was like a seizure. Like she started turning her head around real bad.
How did this happen to his dog?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Fletcher claims ex-girlfriend Brenda Manus owes for illegally cashing a check and for falsely accusing him of stalking.
Now, he didn't make you a gift, he didn't make you a loan. It was clear that he was trying to be a boyfriend and gave you this check. And initially, put your hand down. Initially, what you said was, 2 days after you cashed the check was, I'm just going to hold on to it for a couple of months to teach you a lesson, not to be a fool and give somebody a blank check. Somewhere along the line, you changed your mind after you spent the money. So my question to you is, how come you didn't tell the police when you filed these charges against him, not for threatening you in any way, just he sent you emails, he sent you flowers, then he called you. How come you didn't say anywhere in any of these statements that I took $2,000 from his bank account? You didn't think that was relevant?
Nope.
No. And how come you didn't, if you thought that he was stalking you, how come you didn't say to yourself, maybe if I give him back the $2,000 that I took from him and made a fool out of him, maybe he would leave me alone and wouldn't bother me. And here's the $2,000, because he says to you in an email, why don't you just give me back my $2,000? I'll leave a deposit slip for you. What are you looking at me? Am I speaking a foreign language to you?
I would like to see that. I don't recall
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Thank you.
How much was your lawyer?
$712.
$712, did you say?
Yeah.
Refresh your recollection now? When he says, I'll leave you a deposit slip, please put my money back in my account. When did you do that, Miss Maines?
When did I put the money back in his account?
Yeah.
I did not.
And if somebody was stalking me, if someone was following me around, if someone was coming to my place of business, I would say, gee, I want to remove any irritant that might exist with that person because they feel like a fool. Not a nice person. You were right at the beginning. First statement was right. You are not. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,712. You don't abuse the courts by filing stalking petitions when you've done the wrong thing. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's mad because I filed the stalking order on him.
No, there was no stalking.
He emailed me constantly. I blocked his email.
Only part of the hateful part was the part that she told me when she had a boyfriend.
Called 2 and 3 times a week.
I emailed her back and I told her what I thought of her leading me on like that.
He would not leave me alone.
She basically wrote the check for more than she was supposed to.
He gave it to me.
It was supposed to be paid back. It wasn't paid back.
Was never asked to be returned.
There'll be no more blank checks.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fisk versus Billy, step forward, please.
18-year-old cashier Francis Fisk is suing his former friend, construction worker Diane Billy, for injuries his pit bull received while in Diane's care. Diane is countersuing for unpaid dog-sitting fees.
According to what I read, you have a dog. What kind of a dog is it?
She's a pit bull mix.
And for some reason, you were moving, whatever, you couldn't take the dog with you, so you asked the defendant if she would be willing to take care of your dog for a while.
Yes, there was agreement set up between her and my girlfriend's father, and she's a friend of his. And,
Yes.
He asked her if she'd keep the dog. She said, yeah, it's not a problem. She lives out in the country as long as we supplied her food.
The agreement was not with you, it was with your girlfriend's father.
That's right.
Okay. And how long was she supposed to mind the dog for?
We didn't really have a set time. It was just until we found a new place to live,
So anywhere from a day to 10 years.
basically. Just until we found a spot to live.
According to your complaint, when you got the dog back, someone had severely beaten the dog
Yes, that's right.
and had severe head trauma. You want Miss Billy to take care of the vet bills.
Yes.
That's what the case is about. And Miss Billy says she doesn't know what happened to the dog. She certainly didn't beat the dog. And you owe her for food and for boarding the dog. So that's your counterclaim. Yes. When did she take possession of your dog?
It was towards the end of August.
How old is this dog?
13 months.
How long had you had her?
Like 10 months.
From the time she was a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you go to visit regularly?
Yeah, at least 3 or 4 times a week.
And did you bring the food as you promised you would?
Yes.
All the time?
We left a bag over there so she could feed the dog when we weren't there. But every time we went over there, my dog's food bowl was empty, her water bowl was dry.
If that happened every time, Mr. Fisk, why didn't you remove the dog from her care?
Because I had no place else to take her.
Why didn't you allow her to be adopted by somebody else?
Nobody wants a pit bull.
Well, you wanted a pit bull.
That's right.
I had another case not long ago with people who had a pit bull. So evidently a lot of people had a pit bull. That's not a smart thing to do.
It was hard. I mean, it was...
What efforts did you make to try to find somebody else to take the dog?
Everything I could. I talked to my mother, her friends, everybody I knew, and I couldn't find a place.
Did you put an ad in the paper?
No.
For a 10-month-old pit bull?
No.
Friendly?
No, I didn't put any ads in the paper.
When did you find the dog injured?
I got a call on October 15th at about 10:30 saying, your dog is sick. I don't know what's wrong with her. You need to come get her. I couldn't go. I had to go to work. So I got in contact with my girlfriend at school. She came home. Her and her stepmother went and got the dog and took her to the vet.
When did you see the dog?
When I picked her up from the vet's office after I got off work.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Justine Price.
Miss Price, would you describe the dog when you went there?
Well, she was usually kept in a kennel, and she was in their breezeway inside of a cardboard box. She was bleeding really bad from her mouth, and when I tried to, move her lips to see what was wrong, I don't know, it was like a seizure. Like, she started turning her head around real bad, so We took her to the vet.
You have a report from the vet?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Do you just want all the evidence?
No, I want the report from the vet. The dog had a broken jaw as a result of trauma. They wired her jaw. How did this happen to his dog?
I don't know.
Who lives in your house?
I have roommates that live there. Matt was there.
Who's Matt? How is he related to you?
He's not. He's a good friend of mine. I work with him.
Was Matt at home when this happened?
We don't know what happened. The dog was loose for 2 days, and I called to let them know that the dog was loose for 2 days. And the
When was the dog loose? What, 2 days?
2 days before, the Friday that I fed the dog, it came back that Thursday. She got loose on Wednesday, and she was gone for 2 days.
And then she came back?
And she came back. I tied her up. It was dark out. I tied her up. I didn't think that anything was wrong with her. She didn't act, you know. And then the next morning when I went to go feed her, that's when her head was sideways and she looked sick. So I called Frankie to let him know that their dog was sick and they'd take it to the vet. And he said he had to go to work. They never.
You know what happened to the dog?
I have no idea.
What?
He's the one that's accused of hitting my dog. But I couldn't do anything about it because I couldn't prove it.
Well, what makes you think he hit your dog?
Because the person that spoke to her and spoke to us told us the whole story. I mean, I wasn't there. I can't say that's what happened. But I heard the same story from two people that both associate with Diane. They both go over there and party and get drunk and whatnot. They both associate with her. And they both told me that he's the one that hit my dog.
Oh, somebody hit your dog. What do you do for a living?
Work construction, concrete.
How old are you?
18.
Did you have a party over there on October 14th?
Yeah.
I don't hear you. Yeah is not an answer. Yes is an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were at the party?
Just a couple people. It was.
A couple is two.
All right, like 5 or 6.
Now, I want you to list the 5 or 6 people that were at the house. I want you to make sure you list them all right.
Sean, Becca, Dusty, me, Diane, and Marky.
And what was the drink of choice that evening?
Bud Light.
Anything other than Bud Light?
No, ma'am.
Where was Miss Bealey?
Oh, she was there. I'm sorry.
You playing any games that evening, sir?
No, ma'am.
Where was the dog?
Outside.
Tied up?
Yeah, it should have been.
Is the dog making noise?
It barked.
How many times did the dog bark?
I don't know.
Did you go out to see?
Dogs bark. They were both barking.
So between the time you had this party on the 14th and the 15th, something happened to the dog. What do you think that was?
I have no idea.
I don't either. All right, let's take care of this. You are responsible for the vet bills, madam. When you assume a responsibility, even if you assume a gratuitous responsibility, you have an obligation to see to it that no harm happens to this dog. We understand each other? And if you've got 5 or 6 teenagers, either chronologically or mentally, drinking beer in your house, and something happens to this dog, that's your fault. Now, these are prospective vet bills. It may work, the jaw wiring may work, and it may not work. We
When I
don't
spoke
know.
to my vet, she's had some problems breathing. And when I spoke to him, he said there's more than like a 90% chance she's going to have the major surgery.
Probably. Well, in any event, this dog has suffered substantially. Your claim is for $1,000, which, as far as I'm concerned, is most reasonable considering the vet bills that you had and the prospective vet bills. And I'm giving you these vet bills because I believe that they're responsible for what happened to your dog. Either they or some of the other drunken people that were at her house on the 14th of October. But I have pets. I love them. And if I left them someplace and went over to see them and there was no food and no water, that may happen once. But you said you never saw food and water in the bowl.
It was hard.
Then you don't tell me it was hard. It's your fault. Better off to take a dog to the Humane Society and let them look for another home for the dog rather than to let the dog stay there and be without food and water so that it runs away and to have its head used as a golf ball. You're not supposed to be an idiot even though you're 18. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Speaker Colleen Smith is suing her former landlord, Everett Nelson, and his apartment manager, Sophia Banks, for medical bills, pain and suffering, and harassment. Colleen says she fell into a sinkhole on Everett's property.
Quiet in the courtroom. Quiet in the courtroom. Yes, this is case number 389 on the calendar, the matter of Smith versus Bank Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Smith, you were a resident of an apartment complex. Miss Banks was the manager of that complex, and the co-defendant, Mr. Nelson, I assume, is the landlord and who owns the property. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
With regard to Mr. Nelson, it is your claim that you fell into a sinkhole on the property, causing you injury, and you want him to compensate you for your injury and your medical bills and your pain and suffering. With regard to Miss Bank, you say that she engaged in a course of harassment which forced you to move, caused you emotional pain and suffering, caused you to have moving expenses, etc., and you want them to pay you a combined amount of $5,000 for all of your aggravation. Tell me about this sinkhole that you fell into. When was that?
September 7th, 2004.
And was the sinkhole in the apartment complex?
No, it was not. It was in front of two other duplex units that Mr. Nelson owns. He owns almost half of the block.
So you have photographs of where you fell?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
In the photos, you'll see that should have been after where he tried to patch it up. He patched it up after the incident where I fell.
Would you take these photographs and point out to me, please, where it was that you fell? I can't see where you fell.
Here's the hole that I fell in here. I was actually getting out of the resident's car that was living at this unit. I got out, walked along the edge of the curb, got my baby out of her carrier, out of the back car seat, and there was water running from the top part across the sidewalk, so it just looked muddy. And so I didn't want to get my shoes dirty, and I stepped out of the car onto the curb, but I lost my balance holding the baby in the carrier, and that's when I stepped right here, and it sank. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Who are you?
I'm her fiance.
Yes, were you there?
No, I was at work at the present time, but we also have notification from the water company that the sinkhole was caused in part due to a faulty sprinkler system that he had installed. And the resident called in on it.
Which resident?
The resident that was living at the house who gave her a ride at that time.
Let me see. Go ahead. So?
I went to the water company to find out how many complaints prior to my injury had there been, and Mr. Nelson told the woman under no circumstances do not give me any information. So I had to go obtain a subpoena in order to get these records to show that there was a sinkhole there prior that he fixed and that he thought he fixed. And what he did was he shoveled dirt off the back of his truck into the hole instead of calling a company to jackhammer and pack the dirt down. And then that's how the other incident happened on the 7th.
Okay, you have your medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Thank you.
Okay, you went to the emergency room. They told you you had a sprained ankle. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to express my thanks for the opportunity.
Let's move on.
At your expense. Okay. This is an exhibit I want to share. It shows the duplex in the back. My wife and I purchased this last December and fixed it up. And believe you me, we take good care of our tenants.
Listen
this is
to
very
me.
Important. Okay.
Let's get to it.
Yes, all right.
I've read what it said. It said that there was a sink. Listen
Okay.
to me, Mr.
All right.
Nelson.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
Yes.
Pay attention. Listen to me. I'm speaking. Pay attention. The report says that there was a hole on that property that was caused by a sprinkler, that it was filled in on one occasion. Is that true or not true?
One occasion.
Fine.
But I had a company come in and put in a new water tap because when we bought the property, it was told to us that the neighbor on the north would not pay his water. So I put in the water tap.
Mr. Nelson, let me explain something to
Sure.
you, sir. If there is a hole on your property...
I object to that
Listen to me.
being on my property.
Well, then I'm
and I can prove
going to
that.
let you get to
Okay.
it. If it's not on your property, it's not on your property.
Sure, okay.
Okay? There's a hole on your property, and you have noticed that there was a prior hole on your property, and you attempt to fix it, and you don't fix it.
Oh, I
Listen,
did.
no, listen to
Yes,
me.
yes, okay.
And you don't fix it so that it creates a situation so that somebody injures themselves, you're responsible. I assume that you would have homeowners insurance that would cover that. If your defense is that the hole is not on your property, show me.
Okay, that's one of the defenses. Another is that I didn't cause the hole. It was, I honestly believe, sabotage. And this may sound strange, but the lady that lived in this property would not pay 1 penny of water.
Who's the lady who lived in the property?
Ms. who was the renter of this property.
Okay, she never paid a penny for water.
Yeah, that's right. And it was written in the contract that she was responsible to do
Who cares? I don't care about that.
Okay.
That's not important. Show me that the property
All right.
isn't your property.
All right. You can see these 2 water meters. This hole was by 1 water meter that was right next to the curb, and that was right here. The cause of the hole was the slashed pipe, like someone jammed a spade, and this is what the guy that repaired
Don't just look at me. Don't talk to them. Look at me.
Sorry. Jammed a spade or a shovel into the grid and slashed it.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
I have a mind like a steel trap. You were going to show me that the property where the hole is not your property. Now you have 30 seconds, because I've already wasted enough time with you. Show me that the property wasn't yours.
Right. Just this picture right here shows the meter by this house and the meter by this house, and it was right in front of this meter right here, next to the curb, is where the hole was. Here's another picture right here.
Just a second. Let me see the first picture.
May I approach the bench? Okay.
Go get it from me.
Okay, sure.
This picture that you're showing me, sir, this is not where she fell. She fell at a spot very, very close to the curb, that little curb.
That is true. That is true.
So this, sir, what you're showing me here...
It's just showing the 2 meters. The 2 meters
listen to
there.
Me. I don't care if you're showing me 2 meters. It's not where she fell. I'm not interested in meter. I'm not a meter maid. This is not where she fell. She fell near a curb. When did Miss Smith tell you that she had fallen into this sinkhole and hurt her ankle?
She did not. She did not.
Okay. Miss Smith, when did you notify Mr. Nelson that you had fallen into the sinkhole?
I did not notify Mr. Nelson I had fallen into the sinkhole.
Why not?
Because he came onto the property within that week, and he seen me on the crutches, and the other neighbors had told him, and he did
Don't tell me what other people told him. I'm asking you a question. Your fiancé seems like an intelligent man. The 2 of you, you are articulate. You seem like an intelligent woman. If I fall and I injure myself, I call the landlord immediately, just like you went to the doctor, and say to him on the 7th or the 8th or the 9th or the 10th, I fell on your property. I want you to take care of my medical bills. Or whatever.
You're right. I guess I would have, but the next day I was served with this notice.
Can I see?
And so at that point, I just decided not to discuss it with him because someone had already gotten him to the point. So I figured, well...
So on the 8th of September, he told you to move.
Yes. Right.
Why did he tell you to move? This was the day after you fell.
Well, according...
Why did you tell her to move, Mr. Nelson?
I gave her a 30-day or a vacate notice to move because she was causing a lot of disturbances in the community. This was perpetual. That's why I asked these people to show the properties, clean up if there's a transition in tenancy, to prepare them, you know.
And I have worked for Mr. Nelson prior to this.
Mr. Nelson, do you have any verification from other tenants that Miss Smith was causing you problems? Do you have any letters that they wrote to you, any emails that they sent to you?
There's a wonderful verification right here.
Mr. Nelson!
Yes, yes.
I asked you a question.
She was a tenant of mine.
I'm asking you a question. Whether you have any letters or complaints from other tenants about Miss Smith.
I was one
The answer is either yes or no.
Not written.
That's all I'm interested in. Do you have a bill, by the way, for your sprained ankle?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I actually have 2. One from the emergency department and one from the doctor.
All right. Can you step over here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Step over here, please. Very good. You could put your crutches away. I'm unimpressed. Somebody who let me explain something to you. Somebody who has a continuous problem with a sprained ankle from months ago doesn't wear high heel shoes. They wear sneakers. Step back. So I'm unimpressed with the crutches.
No, I just bought them in to show you.
Listen to me very carefully. Anybody who can't walk doesn't wear high heel shoes. They wear sneakers. Even though they may not look elegant, they wear sneakers. I want to see the letter where you notified him that you fell.
I didn't.
You never did?
We talked verbally on the phone. And
when?
Around the 15th or 20th.
Of what?
Of September, when he called me to tell me that I didn't have to move because he hadn't gotten any complaints, and that, you know what I think about you falling, tell me what's going on with this whole thing. And I said, well, Mr. Nelson, I hurt my ankle. And he told me, well, you know what I think about that? I think you're faking.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I object, Your Honor.
What?
Because Sophia, Ms. Banks here, she saw her most of the time without crutches.
I don't believe she needs crutches, Mr. Nelson,
No,
but I believe
okay,
you're responsible for her medical bills. Got me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She, you know, made the statement to me that, why are you in my business? We're going to mess you up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Colleen Smith says former landlord Everett Nelson owes for damages due to an accident on his property. Colleen says she fell into a sinkhole.
Now, you want to get to the second part of your claim, which is that Miss Bank harassed you, causing you to have to move.
In August, Sophia and her sister Arabia, Sophia knocked on my door and asked me to come outside. And when I came out with my baby in my arms, she, you know, made the statement to me that, why are you in my business? We're gonna mess you up pretty much if we hear our names come out of your mouth again. And right around that time, her sister came from around the wall there. And, yeah, it's, you know, they were coming towards me as in an aggressive manner.
Put your hand down.
That they were going to fight me, we're going to mess you up. And we got into the conversation that, you know, my parents are calling over my house. And I said, well, you know, they asked you not to have their minor child over your home, then send them back home.
I don't know. What was the dispute about?
I had called her parents to inform them. I didn't call her parents. He called her father to let them know that her younger sibling was over her house, who was 15, and he was a witness in a case that pertained to her and another brother, and he didn't want him over there.
So your boyfriend, your fiance, got into her business.
Right.
I'm not saying right or wrong, but that's what the dispute was about. Is that right, madam?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Fine. And you went over to her house and you told her to stay out of your business?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And you went over with your sister?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. What else?
And then on September 3rd, I was given this 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. But according to my lease, my rent isn't late until after the 4th.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
And I do have my receipt where we did.
It says that other covenants of the lease violated. Water, $12, and late fees, $54.90. They're late from September 1st to September 30th, but this notice is dated September 3rd. That doesn't make any sense. Why is that?
What we do is, if the rent is not due, if they have not given us the rent on the 1st, legally we are able to serve them a 3-day notice because the rent is supposed to be due by the 4th. The only thing is that after the 4th, they incur a late fee. It's for nothing else.
What's the late fee that you're talking about here, $54.90?
That's
10% of the rent if they don't pay by the 4th. They have 4 days of grace. The rent is due on the 1st. It's late on the 2nd.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
I don't think you ought to be a landlord. Listen to me. I don't think you ought to be a landlord, sir. Either you're playing dumb or it's not an act.
I'm not sure which.
Listen to me. Either you're playing dumb, Mr. Nelson, or it's not an act. If rent is due on the 1st and you have until the 4th as a grace period, it's not until after the 4th that you incur late fees. And this notice says that she violated her lease because she owes $54.90 in late fees. My question is, for what month does she owe late fees?
The current month that this is
That's
about.
impossible. It's impossible.
Could you please repeat that?
It's impossible.
On the 21st, he told me I could stay. But again, he did it again on the 2nd of October. And he had Sophie.
The notice to vacate was for all the disturbances, and I have testimony here that's notarized.
Now, I'm going to let Miss Banks testify, since she was a resident of the place. What you heard from Miss Smith's apartment that caused you to report to Mr. Nelson that she was creating a problem?
It wasn't what we heard from her apartment. It's what they were doing outside. They were drinking, partying until late into the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Anybody else in the complex partying outside in the summertime?
The other tenants that were there that were partying with her, they are no longer there.
You know those people?
Yes, I do.
Are they gone?
All except one of them. And it was the whole block that had a barbecue for Labor Day. The whole complex came except Sophia Banks.
When you were given the notice to leave by Mr. Nelson, the last one, and you did in fact move.
Without notice. Excuse me. Sorry.
You understood that you had the ability to fight that notice because you weren't in arrears on your rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you do that?
I took my rent money that day that I was going to give him that day, and I took it and I gave it to another landlord because Sophia and her sister...
October?
October 2nd.
Okay. So you took your rent money and you moved?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move?
October 2nd. And
Really?
I turned the keys in to Sophia's husband.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I?
On the 3rd.
Here is the way she left the apartment.
I'd like to take a look at it.
In fact, it looks worse than the pig pens I had when I was raising hogs.
Cups of beer and...
If we drank outside...
That's the living room.
In Mr. Nelson's lease...
Okay, you left the place pretty dirty. Did you have a security deposit from her?
No, not in this one.
Okay. You left the apartment messy, but I don't have a counterclaim. Okay. Ms. Smith, it's a long case. I believe that he is responsible for paying for your medical bills and then some with regard to your broken ankle. I don't find that since you didn't fight this eviction, which you could have, that he's responsible for harassing you. I think that probably Ms. Banks was just as happy to have you go since there was some acrimony that existed between the two of you and she did the wrong thing. I don't think that you're able to be compensated for that to the tune of $5,000, but I certainly think that you are entitled to your medical bills with regard to your ankle and then some. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Later, Jeff Ratcliffe is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kim Hicks, and her son, 15-year-old Wendell Hicks, for medical bills resulting from a fistfight with Wendell. Wendell says Jeff had been spreading rumors about him and a female friend.
Yeah, this is case number 275 in the case of Ratcliffe versus Hicks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Ratcliffe, you and this lady, Miss Hicks, had been involved in a relationship. And according to your complaint, there was an altercation where you came to her rescue. She was having an altercation with her son, I assume this young man. As a result of that, you were injured, and Miss Hicks agreed to pay your medical bills. She has not done so. You are no longer a couple, and you want your medical bills paid. Miss Hicks says that you were the aggressor in this altercation with her son. She is suing you for damaging her home and for injuring her son. Is that right?
Correct.
When did this take place, Mr. Ratcliffe?
It was July 8th, 2003.
Tell me how it started.
Well, we received a phone call at the house.
Who's we?
My son and I.
Who answered the phone?
My son. And
Step up. I wasn't saying hello. I was telling you to stand up. Tell me your name.
Alex Ratcliffe.
Alex, did you receive a phone call on the 8th of July?
Yes, I did.
Who was on the other end of the phone?
Initially, I heard Kim screaming in the background.
Kim, is that you? Miss Hicks.
Miss Hicks. I initially heard her screaming in the background, but Wendell was talking to me, and he asked to speak to my father. And when I went to go give my dad the phone, I heard her in the background screaming for help and asking for my dad.
You went and got your father?
Yes, I went and got my dad and gave him the phone.
What happened when you picked up the phone? Who was on the other end?
it was Wendell Hicks on the phone indicating he was coming to my house to kick my butt, him and 4 boys, because I'd supposedly spreading rumors about him and some girl in the neighborhood.
So he said he was coming to your house?
Yes. And he hung up. I returned the phone call back. You could still hear Kim hollering and screaming bloody murder in the background.
What did you hear?
She was just screaming for help.
Well, what did you actually hear her say?
For Wendell to leave her alone.
Okay.
And when the phone call came, I called back because he had hung up, and I'd asked for him to explain himself. For why is he coming to my house? He said it was due to because I supposedly spread some rumor about him putting a hickey on the neighbor girl's neck. And so I asked to speak to his mom because I could hear her in the background just screaming bloody murder, and so he hung up the phone, and so I felt the need to go there because she had explained to me many times before.
Just a second. Don't tell me what she explained to you before. Tell me what happened when you got there. You felt the need to go over there.
I went over there, I knocked on the door, and the boy had let me in. I come in the door, and
Which boy let you in?
Wendell Hicks let me in.
Go ahead.
He opened the door, let me in, and I come through the door, and to the right of me was 2 friends of hers in the house. Wendell proceeded to go back around the corner where he had his mom pinned in the corner, and she was screaming.
How was she pinned in the corner?
Just backed up to the corner.
Okay, he didn't have his hands on her.
No, he was right up in her face.
No, but he didn't have his hands on her.
Not at this time.
Okay, so what did you do?
I come up around him, come around the countertop there, and told him to leave her alone. He turned and swung at me and hit me in my left ear with his right arm. At that time, I took him down to the ground and sat on him. And he kept trying to hit me in the face, and I grabbed his wrists to avoid him hitting me. I was sitting on him, and I kept asking, "Are you finished? Is this out of you?" And he said, "Yes," on top of him saying a lot of other foul things, how he's going to shoot me and my kids, and he was going to kill my dogs and burn my fence down. And after about 15, 20 minutes of trying to calm him down, I asked him, "Are you finished?" And finally he said, "Yes." I got up, we kind of shook it off, and the next thing I know, he's coming charging at me with a windmill effect. And in doing so, I put him in a headlock, like with his body sticking out this way, and I wrenched up on him to keep him from doing any more damage. And in doing so, I separated this cartilage here in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And probably another 15, 20 minutes to hold him like that, a few other cuss words are coming out, and I asked, "Are you finished?" And finally he said yes. His sister come through the door after I just let him go, and she backed him all the way down the hall, and that was the last I'd seen of him.
Okay. How long had you been seeing his mother in July of 2003?
Approximately a year.
And after July of 2003, did you continue to see her?
Not right away. She kept calling, complaining because I would never take her nowhere, never do nothing with her, never let her meet any of my friends. I told her to go find another boyfriend. And so it's like, it was no big deal to me, and she did. She found another one. She kept calling me, telling me how the progress was going. Finally, after about a couple of weeks, she broke it up with him for whatever reason, and then she eventually started calling me all the time.
When did you stop seeing her?
As of this year of May, Mother's Day weekend.
And when did you start getting these bills?
I was getting these bills probably 6 months after the incident had happened. You know, she said she was going to take care of it because her son had done some damage to my fence back in June. She took care of that immediately. She said she'd take care of these medical bills as well because I...
When did she tell you she was going to take care of the medical bills?
Pillow talk. It was when we were, you know...
And you believed her?
Oh, yeah. I had no doubt to.
Okay. How old are you, Wendell?
I'm 15.
Who was this girl that you supposedly gave a hickey to?
Emily.
Is Emily your girlfriend?
No.
Did you give her a hickey?
Yes.
So why were you angry at Mr. Radcliffe for telling people that you gave Emily a hickey?
Because he was spreading rumors around the trailer court, and I had...
Spreading rumors about what?
About me giving her hickeys and a bunch of other stuff.
Well, it wasn't a rumor about you giving her a hickey. According to you, you gave Emily a hickey.
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay, so why did you call him that day? Were you just angry?
I was mad that he was spreading my family business around the trailer court.
Okay, so when you called him, his son answered the phone?
Yes.
And what did you say to his son?
I asked to talk to his dad.
What did you say to him?
I was like, "Jeff, why are you spreading rumors around?"
And what did he say to you?
He's like, "What in the F are you talking about?"
And what did you say to him?
I was like, about me and Emily. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." So he hung up with me. So I went back to my mom's house, and I asked her why she told him, because it was supposed to stay between me, Emily, and Emily's stepdad.
Because Emily's stepfather was angry with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went home and you confronted your mother?
Yes.
And you were angry with your mother for telling him
Yes.
things? And then did you call Mr. Radcliffe back?
He called me back.
While you were confronting your mother?
Yes.
And when you were confronting your mother, were you raising your voice?
No.
No. Did your mother admit to you that she had shared your secret with Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
And you told her she had no business doing that?
Yes.
See how we get into the story?
Did very good.
It's a whole different story than she wrote in her answer, but at least we're going to get to the bottom of it. You got to start with the most vulnerable one.
That's right.
Right? You got to start with the one who's not quite swift enough to tell you a lie. Now, when Mr. Radcliffe came over to the house, were you still arguing with your mother?
No.
What happened when he came into the house?
He came up, banged on the door. The door came off the latch. He just came in, and then he came up and got in my face, and I asked him what was going on.
He got in your face?
Yes.
And what did he say when he got in your face, Wendell?
You effing little punk.
Well, he must have been angry because you must have said something to him, Wendell, like you were going to come over and kick his and get your friends to come over because he was spreading these rumors about you and Emily's hickey. Did you threaten him?
No.
You mean you just said why? You just said like this?
I said
what?
it in a rude voice, yes.
In a rude voice?
In a rude voice, yeah.
And did you have the same kind of rude voice when you were talking to your mother?
No.
You mean you went over to her and you were very, very calm when you say, why did you share private information
Yes.
with
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Radcliffe? You said it quietly.
Not quietly, but in a normal voice.
Now, did you have any injuries as a result of this altercation with Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes, my back was killing me.
Your back was killing you?
Yeah.
When did it stop killing you?
Oh, a couple days after.
Now, your sister, at one point, came into the room when you were having this altercation with Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes.
Your sister's name is?
Jessica.
And how old is Jessica?
She's 19.
And Jessica took you out of the room?
Yeah.
Right. She said, calm down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
Oh, you're good. You are good.
Can I see your medical bills, please? Now, Mrs. Hicks, did you ever tell Mr. Radcliffe that you would pay his medical bills?
No, ma'am. The only injuries he got was a couple rug burns. When he come up to my door and was banging on my door, he busted my door to pieces. He come in. Me and Wendell was standing in the kitchen talking. He got in his face. Wendell goes, Jeff, can you back up? And Jeff took his hands like this, went boom into the side of the cabinet. And Wendell was going like, you know, like this. What are you doing? He just started attacking him. He took him down. He broke my stove. He had him on the floor, punching him in the face.
Miss Hicks, listen to me very carefully. What you're telling me is that Mr. Radcliffe assaulted your son for no reason.
They got into
Shh. Is that right?
Yes.
And I have a question for you. After July 8th, 2003, did you ever sleep with Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Even though he assaulted your son without provocation. Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 days after the incident.
So 3 days after, it wasn't even 6 months later, it was 3 days after the incident that you, the mother of this assaulted child who had terrible backache from being assaulted without provocation from Mr. Radcliffe, went to bed with him.
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe, this is your problem, sir. I believe what you told me with regard to how this incident happened. Not everything. I think that you probably busted the door a little bit. I'm not sure whether Wendell opened the door calmly and said, why don't you come on in? I'm not sure about all those things. What I don't believe is that she agreed to pay your medical bills. And we know, I gather from these papers, that there is currently an action pending against you for stalking Miss Hicks. Now, I'm not getting into that, but according to Miss Hicks, you did not file this claim for your medical bills until a couple of days after she either filed and or served you with this stalking complaint, which is well over a year later, a year after the incident. So the issue that I have to resolve is whether she put you in harm's way or you put yourself in harm's way when you went over to her house. And there were several things that you could have done on the 8th of July. One of them is if you actually believed that Miss Hicks was in danger, you should have called the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
There's no question that the computer was broken.
We don't know that.
Well, I know that. I mean, did she have a vendetta against you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff Radcliffe says his ex-girlfriend Kim Hicks and her son, 15-year-old Wendell Hicks, promised to pay his medical bills after he had a fist fight with Wendell.
Now, you were angry because Wendell over here opened up his big fresh mouth to you, and you went over there. And this altercation occurred because of that, because if you were genuinely concerned with Miss Hicks, you would have called 911 and said, get a squad car over there as soon as possible. Her son's beating her up. So you were annoyed with Wendell, and you went over there to confront him. And if you got hurt, it's the way it goes. Case is dismissed. That's all. So's your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He broke my door down. He assaulted my child.
He has no respect for no one, let alone himself.
She showed my dad, myself, and my brother all bruises that she's gotten from all of her kids before.
I have never had any bruises on my body.
He's a bully of the neighborhood. He wants to pick on anybody and everybody.
They can think what they want to think. I know the truth.
The only reason why she filed this stalking order is because I've got a new girlfriend.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of LeManc versus Minor. Step forward.
23-year-old Gerald LeManc is suing fellow partygoer Daryl Minor for knocking over his laptop computer during a party. Gerald says Daryl had been drinking all day.
Mr. LeManc,
Yes.
you attended a 30th anniversary party at the home of the defendant.
No, it was at the home of a friend of mine.
Defendant was a guest.
Yes,
And you brought your computer with you in order to play music.
correct,
And it is your claim that Mr. Minor damaged your computer.
correct.
Mr. Minor says that you balanced this computer in a very precarious way, that he did bump into it, but nothing happened to it, and you shouldn't have brought it anyway. Right, so far?
Right, so far, yes.
Good. When was this party?
August 21st.
Now, what prompted you to bring your computer?
I brought the computer for musical entertainment.
Didn't they have a radio?
We did have a radio on top of 2 speakers, along with the computer.
Okay, so you had 2 big speakers. How tall were the speakers?
About 3 or 4 feet tall. I have pictures.
I'd like to see pictures.
I have pictures of where the computer was and that it was balanced on the speakers.
Oh, I see where it is. I see it's balanced on one of the speakers.
And the ground there was quite level, and the speakers were level.
I see where it's balanced on one of the speakers.
With room to spare. There's room around the whole
It's
computer.
balanced on one of the speakers. Okay, now who saw Mr. Minor damage the computer? Okay, step up. Who are you?
My name's Raylene Luby, and I'm his cousin.
Whose cousin?
Daryl, Mr. Minor.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a tent there, and so I went outside the tent by the computer and where the beer was, and I was getting a beer, and he came around the corner and he said, "What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, he fell forward onto his knees, and the thing slammed shut. The speaker moved. He straightened the speaker back up, stood back up. I walked around. I said, "Jerry, you better go look at your computer." Daryl fell on it.
When he fell on it, it was during the afternoon?
No, it was nighttime.
Had you spoken to Mr. Minor earlier that evening?
Yeah.
Was he fine?
Well, he was drunk.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. He was drunk?
Sure.
What do you mean, sure? I mean, you don't necessarily go to a
drinking all
party and
day.
get drunk. What?
He was quite drunk.
So when he fell on the computer, he was drunk?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Go.
Your Honor, when I got there, it started at 3 o'clock. My wife and I showed up. They were playing Irish music. Party went on.
Can we get to the computer, Mr. Minor? Do you remember falling?
I remember hitting the speaker. I was going for a beer. There was a space maybe about 2 foot to get in there. The way the speaker was set up, it was set up so you had to go around it a little bit, which I did.
Did you have too much to drink, Mr. Minor? Your cousin says you did.
Well, they had Jello shots there.
Did you have too much to drink?
Did I have too much to drink? No. I was walking. I didn't have that much to drink.
I have 2 pictures there, Your Honor, with him with a beer cup in his hand, and he was drinking all day long.
Well, I assume that he
It's an
was.
anniversary party for my cousins.
Okay.
I live
So what
around
happened?
the corner.
So what happened to the computer? Is that what it looks like now?
Yes. The computer was damaged, the screen from here to here, and in between in the middle. And it's shattered.
What do you want to say? First, who are you?
I'm his wife.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that he wasn't the only one that was drunk. Everybody at the party was drunk. That's why I left early. I do not drink, and it's no fun being with a bunch of people who are drinking.
I'm with you.
So I left. So he was not the only one drunk, and he was not the only one who probably bumped into that speaker.
Well, that you don't know. All you know is that that's his cousin.
Right.
She said the computer was working on top of the speaker. He was drunk, and he fell over, and he knocked it over, and that's what happened.
Right, that's what she says, because she was drunk too.
That may be. However, there's no question that the computer was broken, right?
We don't know that.
Well,
it's
I know
broken
that.
now.
Well, I know that. I mean, did she have a vendetta against you? Listen, Mr. Minor, when you drink, and sometimes you don't remember what happens because you drink too much, sometimes it turns out okay, and sometimes it doesn't turn out okay. In this case, it did not turn out okay. He's allowed to bring his computer to the party. He's allowed to place it someplace, and if you weren't intoxicated, then I would say, well, it's an accident. You fell over, and that's what happens. But when you allow yourself to become inebriated to the extent where you're not steady on your feet and damage occurs, you're responsible, sir. There's no question you're responsible. Then there may have been a lot of other people who were drinking, and there may have been a lot of other people who could have fallen over, but they didn't. You did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $757. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
25-year-old homemaker Tanya Gwathney is suing her sister's former friend, warehouse worker Dennis Hicks, for throwing her through a glass table during a night of heavy drinking. Dennis claims Tanya started the fight, and he is countersuing for a false arrest.
Yeah, this is case number 320 on the calendar, the matter of Gwathney versus Hicks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Have a seat. You're welcome.
Ms. Gwathney, the defendant is a friend or was a friend of your sister's.
Correct.
According to what I read, you were visiting at his home.
Yes.
Your sister was there?
Yes.
And maybe some other people. According to you, Mr. Hicks, for no apparent reason, assaulted you, causing you some serious physical injury. He was, in fact, arrested for that assault and ultimately acquitted, found not guilty.
Yes.
So you are suing him civilly for the injuries that you sustained. Mr. Hicks says that you, in fact, instigated this fight. You hit him. You had been drinking. He is counterclaiming. He wants money for the cost of defending his criminal case, as well as damage to his door that he claims that you caused. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When had you gone over to Mr. Hicks's home?
October 24th, 2003.
What time?
Probably about 7, 8 o'clock.
In the evening?
Yes.
Who did you go over with?
With my daughter.
How old is your daughter?
She was 1 at the time.
And where was your sister?
She was catching a cab over there. She was on her way over with her 2 children.
What were you going to do at Mr. Hicks's home?
Just getting out of the house that I was staying in. We was going over there to kick it, have fun.
Had Mr. Hicks invited you to come over?
Yes, he did.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened when you got there, Miss Gwathney?
What happened when we got there, okay, we was sitting down. He went and got some beer. There was another girl there, and we was just at the time just talking, having fun. My sister came in, her and the girl had left. I watched the kids while she was gone. All the time he was talking about this girl, how she was, you know, just talking real bad about her.
You mean the girl that your sister was with?
Yes. So when they got back, my sister and her was in a room. And I went up in there and I asked the girl, did she want to move in with me? I told her she could pay me $25 a month and I let her stay with me. Okay, Mr. Hicks got upset.
Did you know her?
No, she was a friend of my sister's.
And you had never met her before?
No, I haven't.
So you went over to her, never having met her before that evening, and said to her, would you like to move in with me for $25 a month?
Yes, I did.
How old are you?
I'm 25 now.
Who else lives in your home besides your daughter?
Just us two, my daughter and myself.
Well, what did you know about this girl who you asked to move in with you?
I didn't know too much about her, but my sister knew her, and I figured that she needed some help at the time.
Okay, so you asked her if she wanted to move in with you for $25 a month.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Mr. Hicks got upset. He told us that we had to leave. He grabbed my daughter by her arm, pulled her out the room. I got up, I asked him, why is you touching my child? And he grabbed me by my neck, slammed me against the wall, and slammed me on top of the glass table.
And what happened to the glass table?
It broke, and my back, I missing skin off my back and had 7 stitches put in.
So that's how your back was injured, because the glass top table broke?
Yep.
Then what happened?
There's another guy that was there. He came in, he grabbed Dennis up off of me, and I ran out of the room, ran into the living room, grabbed his phone, called 911.
Grabbed whose phone?
Mr. Hicks' phone.
And the police came?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Hicks, let me hear your version of these events, sir.
Your Honor, Miss Adams, who is Miss Gaffney's sister right there, she was already at my home with her 2 kids. Miss Gaffney called my home looking for her sister. She asked, was her sister there?
Does that sound right? Is that coming back to you now?
No, it's not true.
Okay, go ahead.
So therefore, I stated, yeah, your sister's here. So then she asked, could she come over? I told her no, because of a previous incident that had happened.
What was the previous incident?
What the previous incident was her and her sister were at my home one evening, and she was drinking and everything like that. She went into the bathroom. A half hour had elapsed, and me and her sister started getting worried. So we finally got the bathroom door open. She was sprawled out on the floor of the bathroom, and my pills, my medication, I'm an epileptic, were on the floor as well. Bottle open, pills sprawled out. We dragged her from the bathroom into my bedroom, put ice on her, you know, tried to smack her to get her to wake up and everything like that. Finally, she woke up. So I had that incident in my mind.
So you told her not to come over?
Right, but...
Does that sound like something that may have happened, Miss Adams?
I have something to say.
Miss Adams, listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
He's just described an incident where you had to go into his bathroom to retrieve your sister from the floor of his bathroom. Did that or did that not happen?
Yes, it happened.
Good. Now sit down.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
After that, everyone kept saying, no, man, come on, let her come over, man. So finally, I gave in. So what happened then was she came over. Everyone had started drinking and everything like that. The lady walked in. I'm calling her the lady. Okay, it's the same one she offered the $25 to for the room.
Gotcha.
She came in, looked at Miss Gaffney and said, ooh, she got a nice fatty.
A nice what?
Fatty.
Fanny.
Fatty.
Fatty.
F-A-T-T-Y.
A nice fatty. What does that mean?
Backside.
Rear end. Okay.
And smacked her on her backside, okay? Miss Gaffney smiled a little bit. So then the lady, Miss Adams, they went into the bathroom for about maybe 5 minutes. They left.
Miss Adams and the lady left?
Yes, they left.
Okay.
So therefore, it was just me, Miss Gaffney, Johnny, Lanier, okay? She was drinking and she was talking about the lady and everything. So me and Johnny, who knew things about this lady, tried to tell her, do not mess with her. Don't get involved with her. You know, she's no good. She will steal from you. She will rob from you. She has a
bad news.
She has a disease, okay?
Bad news.
Exactly.
Got it.
She didn't want to listen, okay? She said, I'm grown. I'll make my own decisions, who I mess with, who I don't. So then I simply told Miss Gaffney, I said, okay, if that's the way you want it, fine. As soon as they come back, y'all can leave, just like that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They were in the room smoking marijuana, and so I patted her daughter behind the neck, and I said, you shouldn't be in here while they're doing that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Gaffney says her sister's former friend, Dennis Hicks, body slammed her on top of a glass table. Dennis says Tanya hit him in the head with a beer can.
Okay. Go ahead.
So they came back.
You mean Miss Adams and the lady?
Right. Came back. And so they all went into the bedroom. So we're sitting outside and everything.
What did you think they were doing in the bedroom, Mr. Hicks?
I have no idea.
Okay. Go ahead.
You know, that would be speculating on my behalf. I can't do that. So we were all just sitting outside and everything like that, you know, in the living room.
Where was the little girl at the time?
In the bedroom with them. So then I went into the room. I said, excuse me. I said, y'all got to go, man. I said,
okay, you wanted them out.
I said, y'all got to go. So I left, went back and sat on the couch. About 10, 15 minutes went by, came back again. I was just totally done with it then. I said, yo, y'all got to go or I'm going to call the police. Miss Gaffney stood up. Her daughter was right next to her, was right near the door. So they were in the room smoking marijuana at that time, okay? And so I patted her daughter behind the neck. I did not grab her arm or anything. I patted her behind the neck, and I said, hey, I said, you shouldn't be in here while they're doing that. The lady screamed out, girl, don't let him touch your daughter. What he touching your daughter for? She got upset. She came in my face, she started hollering, she started cursing, took a beer can, hit me right upside the right side of my head with it, and started hollering, get off my daughter, get off my daughter. So what I did was I put my head down, I wrapped my arms around her, and I pushed her up against the wall, okay? So she's still hollering and punching and screaming. At that time, the table was approximately about 1 foot from where we were. And she moved, she slipped, we both fell on the table.
But her back hit the table.
Yes,
You
it
fell
did.
on top of her.
Yes, it did.
And that's how it happened.
Yes.
Okay.
At that time, my friend came, he lifted us off.
Excuse me.
She ran out. So then I came out, noticed that the cell phone was gone. So I figured she took it. So she was outside. So then about 15, 20 minutes later, I hear this bamming on my door. I'ma kill you. Bam, kicking, everything. So I'm looking through the peephole. Next thing I know, I see her with the phone in her hand. Bam! And she smashed the window. At that time, I just went back into the living room.
Got it.
So then the cops came. Oh.
Cops came, you were arrested. You had a jury trial?
It was not a jury trial,
You had
Your
a
Honor.
bench trial for
Yes,
a
Your
judge.
Honor. Yes.
Did you put on a case, Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Did you have any witnesses?
I had 4.
At the trial?
Yes.
You had 4 witnesses. Who
Yes.
testified at the trial?
No one.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
Because she had no witnesses.
So she testified only at the trial?
Yes.
So you rested. After she testified, you rested.
Yes.
And the judge dismissed it.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Now I'll hear you.
He's lying about me trying to give him an uppercut, whatever, trying to hit him.
Is he lying about you smoking marijuana in the bedroom?
He's lying about that, too.
I don't believe that.
I swear, he's lying. I admit I do smoke weed, but I didn't smoke weed. I ain't had no money that night.
What were you doing in the bedroom?
We was in a room talking.
What were you doing in the bedroom?
Talking.
When Mr. Hicks came in and told you to leave, why didn't you leave?
He came in there once and told us to leave.
I just said
And
to
we-
you, listen to me
Okay,
very
I'm sorry.
carefully. When Mr. Hicks came into the bedroom and told you to leave, why didn't you leave?
We was going to leave. We had 3 kids. We had my nephew was on the couch asleep. My niece was in the room with us, and my daughter was in the room with us.
And is what you're telling me that you or anybody else in the room wasn't smoking marijuana
No,
in there?
it wasn't.
I don't believe you.
Can
What?
I say something?
Sure.
Okay, now, he is lying about all that, Judge Judy, because he came in the room and he said he grabbed her daughter by her arm and was like, get out, you got to get out, like that, right? So he came in the room, they got to arguing because he grabbed her daughter. So they got to arguing, and he just took his hand and put it around my sister's neck like this, threw her against the wall like this, and threw it down on the table. And that's what happened. And I tried to help my sister, but I couldn't because he's strong. He's very strong, and I couldn't help my sister just because.
You should have left when he told you to leave.
Left? He only told.
Now listen to me. You should have left when he told you to leave.
I understand what you're saying, Judge.
Good. Now, so sit down.
Tanya Gwathney claims she was assaulted by her sister's former friend, Dennis Hicks. Dennis says Tanya hit him in the head with a can of beer.
What else?
I have pictures.
Can I see them, please?
I have pictures too. Sorry.
A picture of the table, and that's the window. And
Mr. Hicks, the time immediately prior to this October 24th date, was that the date that Miss Gwathney collapsed in your bathroom?
no,
When
it was
did-
the time prior to that.
Okay. So there was one time when she came in, she didn't collapse in the bathroom.
Correct.
So why were you so adamant about her not coming over?
Because I still remembered that one time.
But you had invited her over after that.
Yes, but it was still on my mind.
That doesn't make sense, Mr. Hicks.
Okay.
It would make sense to me if she had collapsed in the bathroom, which I believe she did.
Okay.
And I believe she probably opened up your pills, and your pills were hanging out there.
Okay.
And I can understand you saying, I don't want her to come back, because that I believe. I believe that happened. Do you understand?
Yes.
And where was your daughter when you collapsed in the bathroom?
Was she asleep? I think she probably was asleep at the time.
What makes you think that age 25 you can subject your daughter to that kind of behavior? Hmm?
Well, see, at the time I was suffering. I suffered from depression and stuff.
You think that alcohol's going to make you feel better?
No, and that's why I was getting help for it.
You were getting help? Were you getting medication? Taking medication?
I was getting help. I was getting help for it.
Do you believe you acted appropriately on the 24th of October?
Yes, because I didn't put my hands on him. I didn't touch him.
I asked you a question. Do you believe you acted appropriately on the 24th of October?
In the incident, yes, I do.
You were there, according to you, 7 or 8 o'clock, and you were drinking, and everybody else there was drinking. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that an appropriate situation for your daughter, who had already been involved in one drinking incident with you?
No, it's not.
So I'm going to ask you again. Do you think you acted appropriately that evening?
No.
Me neither. You got into an argument with him. You got into a fight, whether he pushed you, whether you were tussling around, whether you fell, told you to leave. You didn't leave. You probably
He only asked me to leave once, Judge Judy.
So what?
And we was about to leave. He came in the room and he assaulted me.
No, I don't think he assaulted you. I don't think he assaulted you without provocation.
Can I show you something?
Sure. You can show me anything you like.
This is his arrest and booking sheet. At the top, he was violent with the officers. And my doctor's statement, I have pictures also.
I'm looking at the photographs of the injuries from the glass. Are there any other injuries that you want to show me that are depicted in these photographs, other than from the glass? The answer is either yes or no.
No, ma'am.
So you had no other injuries other than the cut from the glass, is that right?
Right.
And you told the police that he punched you? Where did he punch you? Where did he punch you?
I don't know.
And that he kicked you about the body. Where did he kick you?
I don't know.
That doesn't show up in any of the photographs.
I understand that.
There is no evidence on any of the photographs that you've shown me of any punching, any kicking, nothing. The only thing that there is evidence of is that you fell into a table and your back was cut.
I didn't fall.
Oh, yeah, you fell. He fell on top of you. Whether
If he fell on top of me with his hands around me, he would have had cuts too. He didn't have no cuts, no injuries on him.
Listen to me. You have no case. You were an invited guest into his house. He told you to leave. He didn't like what was going on in the bedroom with you 3 girls with 3 little children in there. I don't believe that he assaulted your child, which is what you are suggesting, that he grabbed your child. I believe you got angry. I believe that you were a little looped, which you shouldn't do. And I don't know what kind of medication you're taking for depression, but if you're taking any medication for depression and you couple that with alcohol, that is not a good combination. You have a year-old child, and your responsibility is to take care of a year-old child, not to do stupid things like inviting a stranger to come and live with you for $25 a month. You have to start using your noodle if you have a child that you're supposed to be taking care of. Now, Mr. Hicks, to be honest with you, I am not impressed with your counterclaim against the plaintiff. Your counterclaim against the plaintiff wants damages as a result of her having you unlawfully arrested. And the truth of the matter is, she was injured. Her perception of it, no matter how drunk she might have been that evening or how high she might have been that evening, was that she was injured, and you were responsible. You should not have invited her over to your house, sir. She had already indicated to you on one occasion that she couldn't hold her alcohol. She was there with a child. According to you, 2 times previously, she had gotten into your pills in the bathroom. She collapsed. What do you need that for? Not smart, sir. The incident that occurred here was unfortunate. She was injured. She was critically injured. She had a couple of stitches in her back because the table broke. I don't know what evidence was produced before the judge at the trial, but certainly the judge was unimpressed with Miss Watney's story. I am too. I don't think it happened that way. I don't even think you remember what happened in any event. I'm dismissing your claim. And Mr. Hicks? Think twice before you bring children into your house in circumstances where their parents can't control their alcohol. That's it, sir. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
I mean the $47 for the window.
That's it.
Parties are excused. They step out.
Clerk Lisa Gaviola is suing her former friend, drug and alcohol counselor Rhonda Turner, for damages to a rental car. Rhonda says the car was stolen, so she's not responsible.
All right. Yeah, this is case number 362 on the calendar, the matter of Gaviola versus Turner. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Gaviola, the defendant was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And the two of you decided to go on a road trip for something, for business? Was it?
We were invited to a music festival in Hollywood.
And where were you coming from?
Sacramento.
You rented a car, and when you got to Hollywood, you loaned the defendant the car.
Correct.
It is your claim that she wrecked the car, and you are being held responsible by the rental car company. Ms. Turner says she did not wreck the car. She was using the car was stolen, and somebody else wrecked it. So it's not her responsibility. That's your defense.
Yes.
You hesitated. That's what I read. Is that wrong?
No.
Okay. When were you going to the festival?
It was Friday, July 9th. I left from Sacramento around 7.
When did you rent the car?
5:30 that afternoon.
From whom?
Enterprise.
And when you arrived in Hollywood, what did you do with the car?
I lent the car to Rhonda.
Okay. You got the car on the 9th of July?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
Actually, what happened was we drove from Sacramento
Look
to
at me, not the floor.
We drove from Sacramento to Los Angeles, and we
Who did the driving?
The plaintiff.
Go ahead.
And we arrived in Los Angeles, and we went to her boyfriend's house. And from that point, I had taken the car and went home. And we were to meet up the next day.
Went home to where?
To my mom's house, actually, in Los Angeles.
Don't make things up as you're going along, because I'm going to come back to everything that you tell me.
Okay.
And, you know, the only reason you have to have a good memory is if you tell lies. If you tell the truth, you don't need a really good memory, because you can tell the same story over and over again, and it's the truth. Do you understand, Ms. Turner?
Yes, I do.
All right. So you dropped her off, you took the car, you went to your mother's house. Is that the last time you saw the car?
No.
When did you use the car again?
The next day when it was time to go to the so-called festival.
Did you go to the festival together?
No, we met there.
And you were driving the car?
Yes.
When you left, did you drive by yourself?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To a family barbecue.
Where?
In Inglewood, California.
And did you drive back to your mother's house?
No, not at that point.
When did you drive back?
I didn't drive back to my mom's house from that point. We were at the barbecue, and that's where the car was stolen from.
When did you find out the car was stolen?
Sometime during the day when I got ready to go, went outside and the car was not there.
What time?
Between 7 and 8.
May I see the police report, please, where you called the police and told them that the car was stolen?
I didn't make a police report.
Why not?
Well, I figured the car wasn't in my name, and I figured I needed to get in touch with the plaintiff so the plaintiff could make the appropriate report on the car.
When did you call her?
I called her that same night.
What time?
Somewhere between 8 and 9.
Is that right?
We received a voicemail message on Jimmy's phone around maybe 10.
Who got the message?
He originally received the message.
Jimmy, what's your last name?
Placencia.
You received the message. What did the message say?
The first message I received from Rhonda was that she left a message saying she had wrecked the car. The car was in an accident.
That's not true.
Shh. That's the first message.
Correct.
And the second message?
We had communicated several times during that evening. I called her back and she left a voicemail. And
Did you speak to her when you called back?
yes, I did.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I asked her about the vehicle and what had happened, and she had told me that she had gotten into a car accident, and I asked her about the accident. She said that she had hit somebody, and I asked her, did she exchange information, and there was no information exchanged.
And then the story changed?
And then the story had changed, and then she had tried to talk me or talk us into reporting the car that Lisa was originally the driver. She did not want to take responsibility for the accident. And when I started explaining to her that that would not be appropriate, then her story changed. She didn't want to talk, and we hung up, and then we tried to reach her again, and were not able to get in touch with her.
That isn't true. I called them several times during the night. They did not return my phone calls.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
I read your answer very carefully, and you say that the car was stolen. My friends and family searched the neighborhood for the car, and finally a friend called and said that they had found the car, but it was wrecked. Where's the friend?
They're not here.
What's the friend's name?
Adrian.
So Adrian found the car wrecked, came back and told you that. Is that what you're telling me?
Adrian didn't find the car herself. Her boyfriend found the car.
Yes.
I got the call initially from her stating what had happened. That was the next day.
So it's different from what you wrote in your answer.
No, my answer says that we looked for the car after we found out the car
No, you
was
can't,
stolen.
Steve. Finally, a friend called and said they had found the car and it was wrecked.
That was the next day.
All right. How much is Enterprise charging you for the car?
$3,780.96.
You have a contract with Enterprise?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Now, you went into a contract with these people in which you guaranteed to them that there would be no other driver driving this car.
Yes.
You had no right to give her the car to drive.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Because if you had put down her name, which you could do, and her driver's license, they would have said, now you're covered if you accepted insurance. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's why you're being charged this $3,780.
Yes.
So, I have to find some sort of a reasonable balance between your wrongdoing and her wrongdoing, because I find, madam, that your story is a crock of baloney. Now, you damaged the car and you try to get out of it. And even if the car wasn't cared for properly while it was in your possession, you have to accept responsibility for that. You have to accept responsibility. You're not supposed to slough off responsibility. Neither are you. You did the wrong thing. But for the fact that you did the wrong thing, she wouldn't have been in a position to wreck your car that you are now being held responsible for. Do you have a car at home?
Do I have a car?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have insurance?
Yes.
Well, if you had insurance, the insurance would cover this if you were permitted to drive the car. Do you know that?
Yes. When she rented the car, she called me and said, do I need to get insurance on the car? And I said, yes, it would be the appropriate thing to do.
Your Honor, she had assured me at the time when I had given her keys that she would be extremely careful and that she would be responsible for any damages to the car because she had full coverage insurance.
I don't believe she said that to you. I don't believe she said that to you at all. In any event, I think you're each responsible for half of the damage to this car and half of what you're being charged for. 50%. 50% for doing the wrong thing, 50% for having an accident and not coming clean. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of half, $1,890. That's all. The rest you're responsible for.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad that both of us were able to take responsibility of the car.
I'm not going to say that I was liable for the car because I didn't wreck the car.
I'm really just glad that it's over.
I think it was a fair decision.
It's been very challenging.
We got insurance for the car. Had she told the story the way it should have went, she would have been covered.
I really don't want to speak anymore.
If you're going to be honest all the way.
We're no longer friends.
Don't tell half truths.
I think it's about being selective of the people that are in your life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Troy versus Shaw. Step forward, please.
Retail salesperson Patricia Troy is suing her ex-boyfriend, retail assistant manager Charles Shaw Jr., for the return of money meant to secure an apartment. Patricia says Charles lied about wanting to live with her.
Ms. Troy, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and according to your complaint, you gave him some money in order to save up some money to put down on an apartment for the two of you to share together. After you gave him the money, he decided he no longer wanted to be a couple, and you want your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what the case is about.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw acknowledges that you gave him money, right?
Yeah.
But Mr. Shaw says that the money was a gift. You had given him money in the past. It had absolutely nothing to do with an apartment, and there was never an expectation that he would return that money to you should the relationship go south. So, how long have you known him?
Since September of 2002.
And I gather from your complaint that there was a time, Mr. Shaw, that you were incarcerated. Is that right?
Yes.
When was that?
From March of 2003 until April of 2004.
What were you incarcerated for?
A breaking and entering charge and...
Burglary?
Yeah.
I can understand burglary.
And...
Was this the first time you were...
management.
What?
I didn't go to anger control management.
Burglary and anger control management. So this emanated from a domestic violence situation?
Yeah, so basically it was just anger control management. That's the charge. I got violated.
Why didn't you go to anger control management?
I did go. I missed the last class, so I got violated.
And who was it that was the target of your anger?
A former ex-girlfriend.
You have a child with this ex-girlfriend?
No.
Did you learn your lesson?
Yeah.
Did you finish anger control management?
Yes.
Did you finish it in prison?
Yes.
See how they get you to do it? One way or another, you're going to go to that last class. Now, Miss Troy met you in September of 2002, so she enjoyed your company for several months, and then you went to jail. And I assume that Miss Troy stood by you when you were in jail. Is that right?
She came in on the tail end part.
On the tail end part of jail?
Yeah. She was writing at the beginning, then she stopped writing. Then around November of 2003, she started coming around.
You mean she started to come to visit you?
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go visit her. So she was visiting you.
Yeah.
How far a trip was it that she had to make to come to visit you?
Not far.
Give me an idea. What's not far?
Probably a mile.
1 mile? The jail was 1 mile from where she lived?
I assume it was.
मैं को आगे यार यहाँ पे थे देखी मैं यार मैं नहीं देखता मैं बैंड से बोल दिया बाबा वे फलाना की मैं यार आ बैठी मैं बिना पे घर तो उधर बाद वाला चुप कर गया मैं खड़ा रह गया मैं एक बार जाको ले पे आए थे इनको देखी दीद मारी मैं उधर मंदिर के थे मेरे सामने मैं बैंड से यार बुद्धि और ना
शादी दे रात का खड़ा है यहाँ
हाँ हाँ जुम्बी था
मैं यार शादी ते मैं आज जुम्मा हुए वे आया हुए बता आज ने जुम्मार ताड़ी देखूं
हाँ
टाइम को धिक्का रीति वे खामा मेरा टाइम ही पास आवे थी
सही है
मैं कुआ के थी हाँ बस मगरब दे बाद के थी यार पता केर ले पड़े ने केर ले क्या करे वो आना खड़ा था यार ना पता आना आना वाल में ना
सही है
चले ना रह गया मैं इताली मैं देखा मैं क्यों ना 8 बजे मैं 8 बजे
आया
मैं 8 बजे आ गया मैं यार तुम घूमना मैं उनका लात मैं कुछ सोचना नहीं लग रहा
यार समझ नहीं होती
मैं क्या कह रहा सजोल जुलते पे रोड पे जब मैं यहाँ पेट्रोल को भैया वहाँ कहीं गलिया में रोड पे मैं वो कहता पेट्रोल पवा इन्हें कट्ठे यार कट्ठे में चंबा पहना मैं जो पेट्रोल पवा दे वल्ला ये किराओ मैं इन रोड पे गली तो मैं गए नहीं आया रोड पे खड़ा हुआ था वो फिर इधो फिर
ये जुम्मे ले मारे
नजर रात ने शादी ये जुम्मा ना
अच्छा जुम्मे ने जाए शादी
मैं देखा उन्हें फिर मैं को नऊ माज गए
कितना
कौन कहनी मैं उड़े रिठे भी मैं गई ना पता प्रोग्राम किथा और मैं पता
ओए ये इतना खुदाई वाली मस्जिद ना है खुदाई वाली
माज और पता कैसे है
ना शादी में थे कितना
अच्छा वाला सी मैं वापसी बल आया हूं कि और नऊ ठीक है
हां गादा दर
कहने को बात वाला जान वाले बंदा कहनी बंदा कोलो बात है खड़दा है हां ये सही वाला था वहां या को गली दी को करे थे खड़ा है शाह साहब भी खड़ा है हाँ 4-5 जने भी यही खड़े में नोनी ने मैं सलाम वालेकुम सलाम मैं कि यार मैं रोड पे फिर जावे मैं नहीं दो गए ऐसा काम है जरा कार से वाला ई गली ना लगी मैं यार मैं पता मिलता तो नहीं मिलता तो नहीं क्या मैं आदा उठा होने पीछे रात
वो ने जाहिर तो नहीं के देना हमने बात
वो हाल चंबा पई होता ना जवान चंबा छुड़े सीधा इनको समझ जाती
चंबा जे कुछ ईमान आता है
हां चंबा हाल नहीं पे छुड़े ना मैं को
या पैसे सही है
मैं को के मेरे छोड़े ना चंबा पे
वो जरा छुआर नाल वत जाली जा सका
ले होन दे कोलो बैठे यार टाइम में
जमेला मैडम के हिसाब से नाल बैठा ही था ओ भी
ई जो मैं दरवाजा के
वो जरा हाली जा सका
मैं को के जी ने मैं वैसा मैच थे ये जो मैं कल लाया परसों मैंने मैच पे देखा कि चक्कर ना मैं ना मैं वाला अपना
यार बंदा दाद करना आप क्या है ना
ऊनी मार मैंने धोखा कर गने नो मैं आ क्या है मैं के देख घर मैंने ठीका धोखे रात में अगर इतना टाइम खड़ी गया ना मैं खड़ता ना नहीं हां तो शुक्र मेरा संगा रात ये तो जुमर ताड़ी हूँ मेरे पास है हूँ ये भी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मैं कोई मैं कि वो सिस्टम भी आए देख सुनो साई के ने सर्वे ने क्या है मैं ही वजह नहीं